Hour. Joining me right now with a further preview is Wisconsin Congressman Mike Gallagher. He's a member of the Armed Services and Transportation and Infrastructure Committees. Congressman, thanks very much for being here. What do you expect to happen at this during this phone call with Biden and Xi Jinping?
Well, my hope is that President Biden stands up in the face of growing communist intimidation and coercion. I mean, we're seeing it play out with this Speaker Pelosi trip to Taiwan. The communists are threatening us and trying to get us to back down, and it seems the Biden administration is willing to appease them on that issue. I mean, this is right out of the Communist Party playbook. Remember, in 2012, Japan bought the Senkaku Islands, and they used that as an excuse to militarize the East China Sea, and we did nothing. And they've been eating our lunch ever since. It's time to stand up before it's too late. And time's running out. In some meaningful sense, the invasion of Taiwan has already begun. This is part of it. They're preparing the battle space. They're trying to make us afraid. They're trying to convince the Taiwanese that they cannot count on us, and we need to stand up to that growing aggression.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned this intimidation and bullying by the CCP, because a source sent me a letter from the Chinese embassy complaining about House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and why he met with the Taiwanese ambassador last week. We have pictures of the meeting that the China task force had, led by Kevin McCarthy. We know. Here's what the Chinese embassy says. We noticed with grave concern that the House Republican China Task Force held a roundtable discussion on Taiwan-related issues on Wednesday, which hyped up the China threat, clamored for today, Ukraine tomorrow, Taiwan, and called for arming Taiwan. And then they go on to say, we hope that Leader McCarthy could strictly abide by the U.S. one China policy and the stipulation in the 3 joint communiques between China and the U.S. earnestly implement the U.S. government's commitment that it does not support Taiwan independence. So there's your bullying right now, talking to the leader of the GOP about his meeting with the ambassador of Taiwan.
Well, I was at that meeting, and I applaud Leader McCarthy for his leadership, for his words of support to Taiwan in that meeting. And the One China policy talks about resolving issues with Taiwan peacefully. It is the Chinese Communist Party which is abrogating existing policy by increasingly turning to military intimidation and economic coercion. Such coercion is also a violation of the Taiwan Relations Act, and the Taiwan Travel Act explicitly says it's the policy of our government to encourage such interactions between high-level officials like the one that Kevin McCarthy was engaged in. Again, it's CCP bullying. This is what they do. They're trying to export their model of total techno-totalitarian control around the world. They are by far our biggest threat, and it's going to be up to Republicans when we take back the House to start holding them accountable for origins of COVID, for fentanyl, like you mentioned, and stand up in defense of Taiwan.
Well, I asked Congressman McCarthy about this meeting with the ambassador of Taiwan on Sunday Morning Futures earlier this week. Here's what he said. Watch.
We met with Taiwan. Why did we meet with the ambassador of Taiwan? Because there's one thing we have learned. A military makes you strong, but dependency makes you weak. He's delaying weapons from being sent to Taiwan. Let Taiwan defend themselves. Let's make sure China does not invade Taiwan. And let's not allow China to dictate where any American citizen goes to meet any others. If that is the case, should we dictate that China should not be coming to America or to other countries as well?
And yet, Congressman, you hear President Biden pretty much suggesting that Nancy Pelosi should not go to Taiwan. The military now saying maybe it's not a good idea because the CCP is promising consequences if the Speaker of the House visits Taiwan. Is she going to go?
I hope she doesn't back down. As I've said before, though I disagree with Speaker Pelosi on almost every issue, and I won't be sad to see her go come the next Congress, on this issue, she actually does have a long track record, going back to Tiananmen Square, of being willing to criticize the Chinese Communist Party and stand up to Taiwan. I suspect the president at some point, rather than just throwing the hot potato to the Pentagon, is actually going to have to get involved and will probably call Pelosi to tell her to back down. I hope she doesn't. This is a separate branch of government. Article 1, what should be the dominant branch of government. And quite frankly, the executive branch has no business telling us where to travel. It's not like she's taking a C-130 and parachuting into a war zone armed with harpoons and howitzers. Any American can get on a plane and fly to Taiwan, all right? This is wholly appropriate for her to go, and I urge her to not cancel the trip.
Well, why then is Joe Biden so soft on China policy and rolls over for everything Xi Jinping wants? He's now considering lifting the tariffs. He hasn't brought up the issue of the origins of COVID. They won't allow us in to do a real investigation on the origins of COVID-19. 1 million Americans are dead. When are we actually going to find out how this happened? What about the fentanyl? 100,000 Americans are dead because of this fentanyl, and it's made in China. How come Joe Biden won't bring this stuff up?
There is an element within the Democratic Party and within his administration, I believe it's led prominently by John Kerry, who believe that the biggest threat we face is not the Chinese Communist Party, but rather climate change. And in order to combat climate change, we need to work with the Chinese Communist Party, as if Xi Jinping cares about COP26 or climate change goals. It's a profoundly naive view of the world, but I believe that is driving a lot of this appeasement, a lot of this fear of rocking the boat. And it's up to us, Republicans in Congress, to take back control of Congress and start to hold this administration and the Chinese Communist Party accountable for all the reasons you mentioned and many more. They have addicted us. We've all become addicted over the last 2 decades to cheap Chinese goods, money from China, to fentanyl, as you mentioned, and also increasingly to Chinese social media. TikTok is the biggest social media app in the United States. It's addicting our children. We have to stop it.
Yeah. Great point. Congressman, thanks very much for weighing in on all of that. We'll keep watching that. Mike Gallagher in D.C. this morning.